appointments happen in the last, 2 years.
Right.
But here we are. So it's a cruddy situation where, people don't necessarily have their voice. But, it's not forever either, I guess. But again,
So I have a question that goes along with this. Like, can we not have a special election? Because Steve kept bringing that up.
But I say, so let's get support with it then. So I understand. And again, I respect, Mr. Barr being honest enough to say, maybe I have more information. Again, it's not necessarily the outcome that I was hoping for, because my desire would be to have an election. So I personally would like to empower the city manager to seek, a second opinion from outside counsel. I mean, my hope would be maybe she would consult with the Michigan Municipal League and, get, another recommended, firm or something. I don't know. That to me is what probably is the most transparent. And instead of our own emotions or opinions or whatever getting in the way, let's ask another legal expert, because that's why we pay, municipal attorneys to do municipal work.
So the motion on the floor is that we empower the city manager to seek outside counsel. Is there, Councilmember Wilcoxon?
Well, the question is, what is the outcome that we're going to get out of this, right? So if we get another opinion, then that can always be challenged by Mayor Richardson through Mr. Conti. No matter what the opinion is, it's just an opinion, unless we've set up a system in which we all agree that we're going to have this like binding arbitration or something like that. This is like, if it's just another opinion, then it's just another opinion. Going to somebody like the Attorney General, oh, that has some weight. But if this is, what is the weight of the opinion that we're going to get? What does it really get us?
Well, I'm hoping we would have an answer more quickly to then know, because I think once we come into November, we're getting into a whole different ball of wax. And once somebody's sworn in and whatever the role that they're in, I think that's going to be a lot harder to, make a change. Yeah, I would absolutely love, I will drive to Dana Nessel's house where she lives myself, because I really would like that. And I really would like an election, because I think that's the,
Let's go now.
I'm telling you, I'm up now. I'm going to have some caffeine. Let's go. And so, right, another opinion is another opinion, but I think then at least maybe we would feel better about whatever the next steps would be. And that's what I'm talking about. So, or otherwise somebody make a motion right now, because we're going to just keep circling.
We have a motion on the floor right now. Your motion is on the floor.
And we're arguing about it, right?
And you're arguing about it. So are we going to?
And I respect everybody's opinion, because I know we've all talked about this, and it's difficult. We're in a situation we never thought. So I'm calling the question.
If we're ready to vote on it, so we don't have to do this, are we fine? Is the discussion portion over for this motion? Okay. So Clerk Kalinga, call the vote on the motion to seek outside counsel by the city manager, please. Oh, you're muted, Clerk Kalinga.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxon.
You're muted.
Yes. Good Lord.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
No.
Councilmember Somerville.
No.
Mayor Richardson. Are you abstaining?
I will abstain.
Councilmember Morgan.
No.
Councilmember Simmons.
Yes.
Motion fails. 3 yes, 3 no.
Okay, so that motion.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Motion. You know what I mean?
I would like to make a motion to take a vote on the first process at the general election that came up with.
Support.
So it's been moved and seconded. And can you, Councilmember Martin, can you just repeat what your motion is, like in full?
I make a motion to go. Well, I make a motion to stick with the determination that the election commission first, our very first determination that they came up with. I gotta to determine I gotta look at the documentation. It's not right in front of me. The first process with the election commission. The first process that the first determination made by the election commission, I vote to go with that process.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on this?
I mean, I will say this because it was basically what I said earlier. I think the best option for us is to stick with that, as it was something that the Bureau of Elections and the county clerk could get behind. And I think that we have already put in a request for an attorney general's opinion. That could take quite some time if they even decide to write an opinion on this. But there's other avenues. I mean, if somebody wants to get an official ruling on that, that they can seek that. They can decide that they want to litigate that. But I think that the plan that was already approved outlines the term expiration of the current mayor when that term that she got elected for expired. And also, we still didn't go back to the fact that the oath of office was until November 2020 for that. So I'm still, anyways, that we don't need to get into this. Like, the whole point is that process made sense because the organization meeting happens every 2 years. And we do have a general election coming up in November. And there is another reorganizing meeting that following Monday. So I think that is the cleanest way. It was already approved. It was a publicly hosted meeting. And, you know, if the Attorney General weighs in, that's great. And I mean, there are 6 people who will automatically be at that organizational meeting, and we'll just have to see what happens then. But I think that that process that was already approved is something that at least I feel more comfortable with because the Bureau of Elections supported it. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Simmons.
So I think we should be making every effort to try to push for an election on this matter. And so, and again, it's no disrespect to Mayor Richardson. It's more about principle of the people we represent. And so, to me, the way we get there is by some type of legal ruling, or we're going to roll the dice and take a chance on trying to make that happen. But I would feel better if we had some kind of legal support for that. The way to that was my resolution. I think that I just had of getting another opinion that we could then work through. But again, I think it's slim. So I don't like. I don't know. I'm so torn on this. I mean, I can make a legal argument for all these different scenarios. And I can appreciate how all of them you could interpret that. But again, I'm not a municipal lawyer, so. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, anyway, I'm going to stop talking, but basically I think I want to try to exhaust all options to try to get to an election, and whether that's May or something. And so to me, that's again, through seeking some kind of legal opinion or something. But until then, I guess I'm not interested in supporting another method. I don't know. I don't think it does right by our citizens. Oh, you're.
Councilmember Jones Chance, my apologies.
I may have an outdated packet. This resolution doesn't appear in mine, but could someone, and maybe this is part of the problem, could someone explain what exactly the current process is?
So there is no resolution in the packet on this. It was just a line for discussion. But what Mr. Barr was explaining a little while ago is what his most recent opinion was to council about how the office of mayor should be filled through 2022. I am not fluent in legalese, so I don't want to try to explain that. I don't know, Mr. Barr, since Councilmember Jones Chance is now on council, you could forward that information to him, maybe for him to review.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you. Unless someone else wants to give it a go, but that's not my judge, so.
Or I could give you a thumbnail sketch.
I'll take that.
Andrew has his hand raised.
Or Kalinga, sorry.
Concerning holding an election, I'll have to double check with the BOE, but I don't think the city can call a special primary or a special general election. If we're able to do so, we'll have to call 2 elections and it'll be upwards around $30,000.
It's that much? I thought it was only 8,000.
It's about 15,000, between $12,000 and $15,000 to run an election. And you get to do 2.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah.
How much would it cost to get another opinion from another lawyer?
I'm not certain on that one, but I don't think it's $30,000.
I hope not.
Yeah, probably
I see
not.
that. Yeah. Well, there
Okay.
is a motion on the floor if it's just a discussion.
Right. So the motion on the floor is to follow the election bureau's first opinion. Bureau of Elections first opinion. I'm so tired. Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons, you're muted. So if you're trying to speak.
Oh, no, I was saying we're having discussion on the motion though, correct? So.
Right. Yes. But I'm just repeating the motion.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm so sorry. First of all, I also just want to say that I have the utmost respect for Kirk Halenga, Mr. Barr, and I understand, again, I want to reiterate that this is just tricky, crazy stuff that, again, I don't think anyone would have, predicted. So I appreciate, your work on these efforts. To me, again, having some other, if we're not comfortable with kind of, Mr. Barr's opinion, then we seek another opinion, and then at least we have, something else to reinforce whatever our next actions are, and more of a leg to stand on for whatever we decide to do next, whether we like it or not.
I just want to give a time check. It's 1:37. So we have 23 minutes left of our meeting. So, and we do have other things to kind of go over. So, Councilmember Wilcox, you look like you were going to say something.
There's a couple of logistic things. One is if I was right about the standing in terms of the election commission, then this is a moot point because that still stands as the only official action on what would happen with the mayor's position, right? You've got the election commission's ruling, and then you have Mr. Barr's opinion. And so if we're going to make a motion to go with this, well, that's already the official stance. So it doesn't seem like we need to even do that, right? But then the question is, I'm sorry, it's 1:30 in the morning. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, it's
Give
late.
me a moment.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Mr. Barr.
For a point of information, after the election commission met and made a decision, I learned some additional information, and I sent a memo to the election commission. I think I sent a copy to council asking the election commission to change their ruling.
Thank you.
That has not come to the election commission yet. That's still pending.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Okay.
So is this even possible that city council can make that determination? Because, nowhere in our charter does it say that the city council has the authority to determine what happens in that thing, unless you're going to go with all the language that's in there. So if the election commission made the determination, that is what it is. If the election commission changes that determination, then that's still what it is. And it doesn't seem like the city council has any standing to change that. So making a resolution, it's not even clear to me that we can do that by resolution.
So I saw Mr. Barr, you took yourself off of mute, and then Brian Jones-Chance, you took yourself off mute as well. So did you want to make a comment, Councilmember Jones-Chance?
Yeah, I just wanted to, if someone could very briefly just explain, for the purposes of this motion, which of these variations we're talking about.
Councilmember Somerville, it's your motion. Would you like to explain it to?
So,
Councilmember Morgan as well.
it was Anthony's motion, but I'm happy to explain if you want, or maybe,
Anthony,
I don't know, someone on the process that was approved by the election commission, which is the motion, is that after the November election, at the reorganizing meeting, council will appoint a mayor pro tem, and that person by default is the mayor for 2 years, and then we appoint another mayor pro tem. And then if there would be a ward vacancy, whatever ward comes about, and then that would have to be filled. That was a process that was approved by the election commission, and it was something that the Bureau of Elections and the county clerk signed, like basically said that makes sense.
Okay,
The second part of that is that the person that is chosen to be mayor pro tem would automatically fill the mayor's position, and then a second mayor pro tem would be elected by council. And this is where it gets into the sticky part about city council determining who the mayor is.
Mr. Barr, you look like you.
I don't want to leave a misunderstanding with council. At the meeting with the county clerk and the Bureau of Elections, the issue was, could an independent run for office in the November 2020 election? That was really the issue. And the county clerk and the Board of Elections convinced me that it was not fair to have an independent run in that election. And so there could not be an election because the political parties could not get someone to run, or they could not nominate someone. The county clerk and the Bureau of Elections never really dived into or drilled into the city charter as to what would happen at that time. But it was, I think, assumed that the council then had this power to appoint someone, to use a procedure to appoint someone to fill the slot of the mayor. Mr. Conti then sent a letter saying, well, wait a minute. The law in Michigan is that an office is not vacated if there's a legally constituted person in the office at the time, unless there's some other action, something else that happens. And so the charter says that the office of mayor will be filled by the mayor pro tem until the next general election. And of course, we can't have an election in November. And so the next general election will be November of 2020. Once I realized that, I prepared a memo, and I think I sent a copy to council that I sent to the election commission requesting that the election commission review the issue again, because I think they made an erroneous decision. But that is, Council Member Wilcoxon is right. The way the thing stands right now, the election commission, the last action they took was the procedure that's been described.
I have a question though. So the issue with the special election is that we didn't allow time for partisan candidates to apply for the election, but we also didn't allow other candidates to be on the ballot in November on the Democratic ticket because somebody else is already under that. That's a little confusing because we have an independent candidate now for that ward, and then that ward seat, if the person there's a Democrat running against that independent candidate, and the Democrat will likely win that seat in November, and then that's automatically vacated, and nobody else was given an opportunity to apply to put their hat in the ring for that election.
Well, that's a different issue, but there's nothing that the city did or didn't do in regard to the timing. The state sets the timing by state law for when you filed your petitions to be on the ballot. And the way that the resignation came in, there was not time after that for the partisan people to file to have be on the partisan ballot. It's not intuitive, and it's quite interesting. It's because we have partisan elections the way it came out, but it wasn't anything that the city did. It was the fact that the state has set these election dates and have the time for filing, and have taken away the right of the city to have set special elections.
Thank you, Mr. Barr. Okay, so it's 1:45, just for a time check. Clerk Kalinga.
To go back to what Councilmember Somerville said, individuals that you meet the requirements to serve as a council member in Ward 1 had time as prescribed by state law to file to run as a Democrat. At the time of the resignation, there was no time for anyone to actually file as a Democrat, which created the issue.
Clear as mud.
Yeah, this is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, yeah, it's very complicated. But I'm getting a lot of questions about this because now we're gonna have a seat that's a 4-year vacancy. And we also have someone who took an oath in office that expires in November of 2020. And this, obviously, I understand that Mr. Barr has had to go back, look into additional stuff, change his mind, and that's totally fine, but it doesn't make it any less complicated for people asking me, constituents, in my ward. So, and I think Anthony and I both have tried explaining that there was a process approved by the Election Commission, and then we also got this third opinion.
Councilmember Simmons, I saw your hand.
Oh, and got the third opinion. And whose third opinion is that? I mean, from
Mr. Barr.
right. So wouldn't it have been helpful to say, and so then we sought outside counsel and got an opinion that either agreed with him or didn't. We decided to go a different route. I'm just saying, and unfortunately, so much of this is not necessarily the city's fault either when it comes to, the partisan issue. And I mean, who could file for this or that. So what are we going to do? It's, I'm doing a time check, 1:47, and
No
we're not.
motion on the floor. The original motion that Councilmember Morgan put out, that is still on the floor. We never voted on it. So, Clerk Kalinga, what?
Can we call the question? Or is there still discussion?
Or
So it's been moved and supported to call the question.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
call the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Abstain.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
Yes.
Motion carries with 5 yes and 1 no, and 1 abstention. On the main motion, Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Pass.
did you say pass?
I said pass.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Abstain.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Can you just clarify for me the motion? I just want to make sure what I'm voting on. It's for what the Election Commission said?
correct.
Okay. That we're going to choose out of, yeah, okay. No.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
No.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
No.
motion fails. 2 yes, 4 no, 1 abstention.
Councilmember Wilcoxen.
So to me, that's a moot point. That whole motion is a moot point because we have an official standing of that determination already. So now the question is, Mr. Barr is going to go to the Election Commission and they're going to meet on that. So I expect that the next Election Commission meeting, there are going to be a ton of constituents who are going to show up for that meeting. I don't know, is it going to be at 9 o'clock in the morning again, or?
Well, I have something to bring up about that. And this was in the Conti letter stating that the election commission doesn't have the authority to make this determination. I don't know what Mr. Barr's opinion is on that. To me, the election commission, how I understand it, is to approve procedural issues with elections, not to determine this.
So not to
Right.
determine the process, to determine.
Yeah, so I'm not even entirely, and again, I would defer to Mr. Barr, but I'm not entirely sure that the election commission has that authority.
And Mr. Barr, before you answer, I want to add on to that. I guess that would be my question. Who has the authority to make any of these decisions at this point? Because it sounds like from every direction,
Nobody.
everyone's saying that the other party is not able to make the decision. So for me, what would be helpful is to know who has that power to do that.
Nobody.
Right. At this point, it sounds like no one.
Nobody.
Well, here's the situation. In Mr. Conti's letter, he made a number of assertions that I don't agree with. He said one of his assertions was that the election commission does not have the power to make the decision. Now, if you read the city charter, it sets out what the election commission's duty and what its powers are, and it is general to do procedural items, make sure we have election inspectors and things like that. But then at the very end of that provision, there's a clause, there's some language that leads me to believe that that's not the only power of the election commission. And the election commission, I believe, has the power in Ypsilanti to make some decisions on elections if you have a question. However, to answer the question, who has the power to make the decision in this case? Well, what we're talking about is what is the legal law? What is the law? What is the legal significance? And city council can't change the law, and the election commission can't change the law. It's in the charter, and so whatever the charter says is going to be the law as kind of harmonized with what the state election law is, and the fact that we're a partisan community and that these time limits and we can't have a primary election and all these other things. And so to answer your question, the ultimate authority is going to be a court. If it comes to that, the court is going to say yes or no, this is what the law is. I've given you my opinion on what I think the law is, what my best opinion of the law is. But that's the long and the short of it. And whatever council does, they can't change the law, and whatever action is taken will probably end up in court sometime. So I'm sorry, it's not.
That's the way it is.
It's
Yeah.
not.
Thanks, Mr. Barr. So again, it's 1:53 now. And I think we're back to where we started, which is nowhere other
But
than.
it was a discussion.
Yeah, it was a great discussion, and I would really, unless someone has something else to put on the floor that is substantial, I would bring the conversation to a close, because yeah, that's what we can do here. So, are there any objections to ending or closing the discussion? Being diplomatic here. All right. Well, we will move on. Mayor, would you like the gavel back?
Okay. Thank you very much for handling that issue. Mayor Pro Tem, I appreciate that. Clerk Kalenga, do we have anything that we really need to, did we take off everything except adjournment?
I mean, it's council proposed business is still on there if you wanted to do that. Communications from the city manager, communications, and then adjournment.
Okay, we have 5 minutes. Any council proposed business? Okay, Council Member Morgan, I can't see you. Do you have any council proposed business?
Not tonight. No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, all right, thank you. City manager, do you have any communication that is of dire urgency?
None.
Okay, the mayor has nothing of dire emergency. So that brings us to adjournment. Does it?
I'll move.
Support.
Wait, communications. Did I cover all the communication?
We can read
Clerk
them.
Halenga. Did I cover all the communications?
Yeah.
Can't even find the back page.
Okay.
Just the
I mean, there's a letter of support and the Michigan Municipal League annual meeting notice. That was all that was in there.
And then
That was the communications. Okay, those are not dire that they cannot be communicated otherwise. So do we have that all important motion?
I make a motion to adjourn.
support.
I
Good night,
think
everybody.
Councilmember Wilcoxon had beat you to it.
Whatever,
Yeah,
I don't
it's been up
care.
long ago. But
Hey, Brian
anyway.
Chance, congratulations on your appointment. Thank you for this first one. I know it was a long one. Appreciate you.
Welcome to the fall.
No worries. Thank you.
Yep,
They're
well,
not all this long, Brian.
Well, that's
Thank
too
you
bad.
so much.
Some of them are longer, Brian. We have a
Yes,
breakfast
they
club,
have.
you know.
Congratulations, Brian. Look forward to working with you. So,
Thank you.
okay, you're welcome. All right. Good night, everyone.
good night.
Rest
Good night.
well.
Sleep
Good
well.
night, Mr. Barr. Rest well.
Good night.
Bye, Joe. Oh, Joe's not here anymore.
Oh, I am. And I'm
Bye,
going to-
Joe.
Bye.
See you, Chief.